Yes, we are now in India. Was there an ancient civilization here as well? You bet. And it is of the highest significance to us. It was called the Indus Valley Civilization. Yeah, well, we don't know what it was called back then. We just call it that today. Anyway, the main thing is here, the fascinating story behind the discovery of this civilization.
It was a hot, sunny afternoon in the year 1920. The Britishers were ruling India at that time. Workers were all tired and sweaty as they were digging the ground for construction of a new railway station at a small town called Harappa.
Suddenly, something very surprising happened. They stumbled upon a large pile of bricks buried under the ground. It was as if they had discovered a treasure. Where did these bricks come from, they wondered. Who made all these bricks? And the weirdest thing was, the bricks were really old. The news of this mystery spread far and wide, and archaeologists from all over the world set out to Harappa to unfold its mystery. In the years to follow, two archaeologists, Dayaram Sani and R.D. Banerjee, led the excavations at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro respectively. After excavations, a lot of exciting things were found. There was a whole city buried there. There were seals and artifacts and amazing buildings, all buried in that forgotten town. They were standing over the ruins of a great civilization. They realized it and rushed to inform their bosses. Thus, under the guidance of Sir John Marshall, about 1,500 sites were excavated. These excavations confirmed that an entire civilization existed around the river Indus and its tributaries about 4,500 years ago. Now, since it was a civilization along the valley of the river Indus, they named it the Indus Valley Civilization. And since Harappa was the first and the biggest site to be excavated, it is also called the Harappan civilization. Studying the remains, historians have predicted that this civilization started around about 3,250 BCE and flourished between 2,500 and 1,500 BCE. It is known to be the first civilization that ever existed in India. Suddenly, India's history had some proper pedigree, richness, depth, and archaeologically verifiable antiquity. That is ancientness. Now do you see why I said this civilization is very important for us? Our very roots come from them. Our ancestors might even have lived there. More than 250 major centers of the Harappan culture have been discovered in different areas all over the map. See? Based on these discoveries, we now know that the civilization was huge and must have extended from Jammu in the north to Gujarat in the south, and from Meerut in the east to the seacoast here in the west. Basically, covering the entire northwestern region of the Indian subcontinent. Out of all these sites, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, both presently in Pakistan, are the most important ones. We have plenty of sites from the Indian part of the subcontinent as well, such as Lothal and Dholavira in Gujarat, Kalibangan in Rajasthan, Alamgirpur in Uttar Pradesh, and Mitathal in Haryana. The artifacts and remains obtained from all these sites show that our ancestors were quite cool. They had an awesome lifestyle. In fact, in some aspects, I would say even better than us.
काय ग दीदी? कपडा दीदीकडे दिलता ना. श्रुती कुठे आहे का? काय माहिती. अगं
तिला कशाला हे कर
मारती काय?
It was all about how they planned their cities. The cities were divided into two parts. One part smaller and the other part bigger. The smaller part was raised above the ground, about 12 meters high. And it had massive walls surrounding it. These walls protected the area from floods. It looks like a proper fort, no? The archaeologists also thought so. That's why they named it as the Citadel. Most of the important people, like the kings, the royal family, the priests, they must have all lived here. The other part was bigger in size, and it had all the residential buildings and the public facilities. It was the place for the common person, and it was situated below. So we called it the lower town. And not just that, the cities were guarded so well that they had watchtowers made of stone, built to keep a watch on enemies, so that the city is protected not only from the floods, but also from any attacks. And this is how the Harappan city looked. The Harappan cities had an amazing system for water supply. There was no discrimination. Water was made available to everyone equally. It is believed that they were the first civilization to achieve the great art of indoor plumbing. Each house had a separate well. And there were community wells too. They kept it all so clean and hygienic. Their sanitation system was the best. No city in the whole world was as clean as our Indus Valley cities. From each house, wastewater flowed down into small drains. These small drains from all the houses were connected to a large underground drain that was built under the streets. And from there, it was then carried out of the city. The drains had manholes at regular intervals for cleaning and were always covered with bricks and stones. So the entire land was divided into blocks, small and big. Houses were constructed in just these blocks, so they would have enough space between them. There was a central courtyard around which the rooms, kitchen, water well, and bathroom were arranged. Larger houses also had smaller dwellings connected to them, probably for the guests or the servants. The houses would be 1 to 2 storied, and there were stairs to go up and down. The entrance doors to all these rooms faced the courtyards. Also, the entry gates to houses were restricted only to side streets. They also had compound walls. Hence, anyone could hardly peep into others' affairs. So the nosy neighbors were a no-no. The Harappans were perhaps the first ones in the world to use wheeled transport. They were very proud of it. All your cars and vehicles today are just the advanced versions of the carts that they use. The secret behind no traffic jams were the wide roads and the proper planning. The roads in the cities of the Indus Valley were as wide as our national highways, and even the normal streets were wider than the width of a truck. And all these roads and streets were interconnected at perfect right angles, with a slight curve at the corners so that the heavy carts could turn easily. And they planned it all out perfectly to avoid traffic, unlike our modern planners. So even if we take all the vehicles of today and put them in a Harappan city, we would have smooth flowing traffic and no jams. It's all about planning, and they were obsessive planners. So here we are at the great bath. See how well engineered it was.
Civilization.
The bricks at the side walls as well as the floor, they fit together so finely that the tank was watertight. In addition, there was this thick layer of this thick thing called bitumen on the brick to make it even more waterproof. And it had these two wide staircases, one from the north and the other from the south for the entrance. There were changing rooms here also, along the eastern edge. Oh, and there was a well for water supply. And a small hole in one corner. What do you think that small hole was for? Draining the dirty water, of course. And this awesomeness doesn't stop here. Near the southwest corner of the Great Bath, there was a hammam, a facility for sauna. I hope at least you guys found the Harappans fantastic, because their town planning was undoubtedly awesome. And having built such a huge structure which lasted all through thousands of years, isn't that commendable? But out of all, what blows my mind personally is their obsession for perfection. They actually had everything standardized. All the roads, right from the side lanes to the main streets, were of exact, fixed widths. And how could the Great Bath be waterproof? Well, because every brick used to construct it had exact ratios of length, breadth, and height. Mohenjo-daro is full of giant and robust structures built with these perfect
आधीचे लोक
bricks.
राहायचे बघा.
Let me show you one more example.
इंडियन लोक हरप्पामध्ये राहायचे पंजाबला सगळे लोक.
Like the assembly hall. It was a large, tall hall, about 25 square meters area, supported by 20 huge pillars arranged in 4 rows. People may have used it for general gatherings. And then there was a granary as large as a tennis court. It's called the Great Granary, obviously. In fact, granaries were built in all the cities, as the Harappans had a lot of food to store. Not only did they collect fruits like ber, Indian plum, sounds yummy. So in addition to fruits like ber, they also caught fishes. But they mastered the art of agriculture so much that they produced tools like the plow and also cultivated a huge variety of food grains. They grew wheat, barley, pulses, peas, rice, sesame, linseed, mustard. So the granaries were essential for storing food grains for the public, and even had circular brick platforms for grinding the grains. And apart from all the perfection they had, what surprises me the most is the fact that these measurements remained consistent throughout the civilization. That's right, all the way from Mohenjo-daro to Harappa, 700 kilometers away from each other, all these measurements remained exactly the same. And this was all possible, certainly because the civic authorities in Harappa were very vigilant, but also the Harappans, the people, they obeyed them too. We certainly have a lot to learn about civic sense from our ancestors.
अमीर लोक म्हणजे ना पंडित सारखे अमीर लोक वगैरे ना ते अशा घरात राहायचे. म्हणजे बघा ना किती अमीर. आणि जे गरीब लोक आहे ना ते अशा घरात अगेंदा कॉकरोच.
याच्यामध्ये काय होतं, त्याच्यात काय होतं?
याच्यात राजासारखं होतं एकदम गुड लाईफ.